So the car that I've most frequently owned is definitely the BMW 36. I've probably had about 8 or 9 of them, to be fair. And one of my first cars was an E36. This is my 316 Saloon, the first one I drove and the first one I owned. And there you see my old Metro in the background and the EOS that we had. It was a family car for a while, and this did the trick. It was really, really slow. I mean, 0 to 60 in this thing must have been about 14 seconds or something. It didn't feel fast at all, but I think it cost me about 400 quid, and it got me around for a few months or so, and then I went on to other things. But I've owned several of these things. So there's this one that I had. That was a 328i that I bought these Vader seats for, and they cost me like 150 quid for the full Vader interior, for the door cards and everything, but it didn't come with headrests. £150, and the seats were, I think they were brand new. I think somebody had bought them just for the headrest to be rewrapped, and then these were dumped in some guy's locker somewhere, and he stuck them off online. 150 quid, and I bought them off him. I can't imagine how much they'd be worth these days, but this is like 10 years ago, so this is one that I owned. It's the same car there. It's got the M3 wheels on them. That cost me probably a couple hundred quid, and this is when I first started to properly modify these things and really enjoyed them. So the car in front is a donor car that a lot of bits and pieces came off, and then I slapped them all onto this 328i, and that had the M50 manifold, and really it was a pretty quick car, but quite ropey. Shortly after, 328 Sport, that's a genuine one. I think it was 1150 quid. It was a really decent, nice car. That one had the Star 32s, as you can see. It was lowered down on coilovers, full, M lip, M mirrors, all that sort of stuff. It had a tune on it as well, and it had the M50 intake manifold, custom induction kit, and that was a really, really quick car. But I blew it up, and then it went to BMW heaven. Same car, different wheels, and then I had a few other ones. So this was a car. It cost me 500 quid. This guy did. It had genuine staggered style 24 wheels on it. Full M kit again. The M mirrors. This is a Sport that had a Vader interior somehow, no idea how, and no sunroof. And it cost me 500 quid about 10 years ago. That's what the thing looked like on the inside. And it's just amazing how much the prices have just skyrocketed on these cars. It's absolutely ridiculous. So some of the other cars that I've owned, I had this guy as well. This was a romantic red end of life 328i convertible. It had champagne interior and a Harman Kardon stereo, and that cool looking guy there is me when I had fake Ray-Bans. And there we go. This is what it looked like when I had it, and I think it's recently been back on eBay, but I sold it for what, £2,000 or something, probably 7 or 8 years ago. Quite possibly should have kept this one. Again, staggered M3 wheels that I bought for it in really, really good condition. And of course, it doesn't end there, so I've had a couple of M3s as well, and this is where these E36s really left a bit of an impression on me. So this guy here is the 328i Sport, but this here was an M3 that I bought about 7 or 8 years ago, and it cost me 3,200 to buy the thing. 147,000 miles, coupe, barely a mark on it, coilover suspension, full style 24s. It did have dodgy headlamps, but this was a great car, really, really good car. And I've sold it for, I still remember, £2,880 it was. Less than £3,000 for this thing. And I wonder where it is now. But there we go. That's what it looked like when I bought it. But of course I fixed the front end, put the correct nose cone on, and changed the headlamps and made it good. But there was one car that's always left a lasting impression on me. And that's when I was a very foolish 21-year-old. I got myself involved in, well, basically, I maxed out my credit card buying this particular car. And this was a 1996 Techno Violet M3 Evo, and I've always wanted to kind of recapture those thrills. But I can't afford to buy an M3 anymore. They're ridiculous money, so I thought I would set myself a budget of £5,000 and make it as close to this as I possibly could. So then the hunt started. I started looking around online for various E36s, desperately trying to find one that was in Techno Violet that isn't a compact, for example. Although, nice wheels. Are they original? Maybe, who knows. But after quite a lot of searching around, I managed to find a car that would kind of fit the bill. It really wasn't perfect, but it was cheap. So I figure whatever money I make back from the £5,000 that I can spend it on the car, and probably make it even better than I would have done had I bought a better one to begin with. So this is the car in question. So as you can see, it's a Techno Violet. It's a 323i. It's an automatic, but it comes with a full M kit and it's in pretty good condition. So I asked the guy to send me a few photos, And here they are. So these are the photos the guy sent through. I bought this sight unseen, so I wanted to make sure it was in as good of a condition as I could possibly kind of establish over photos. But the really important thing for me was having decent paintwork on the car, and it does look pretty fantastic, to be honest. And also no rust, so nice and clean, solid arches, not been worked on. You can tell though from this it's got these 5 Series wheels on it, which I'm not a huge fan of. Those have got to go. And then a few little mods, bits and pieces, like blacked out indicators and then smoked indicators there. The paintwork's not fantastic on the front bumper. But it's all there. You know, you've got the M3 front bumper. It's actually the M Sport or the Sport front bumper, because it's got this grille rather than the mesh here. And this will be an aftermarket lip, because the Sports never came with a lip. Further back, you've got the twisted pair side skirts, so proper M3 ones, the M3 door mouldings, but with the Sport logo, not the M3 on the side, which I quite like because it's not an M3. And then it's also got the M3 mirrors and the hard tops, so all the desirable bits, and the rear bumper as well. Is the M item with the M diffuser. Little bit concerning, the interior looks like this, so the seat is completely ripped up on the passenger side. And there's also a hole here on the driver's side and the bolster. I think that's been repaired here. Not particularly well looked after. And then also this, the steering wheel is quite tired. Door pocket is missing here. But fundamentally, I mean, I thought it over for a while. I think the guy wanted $3.5 grand or therefore for it. Didn't really think it was worth it because of the bits that needed doing to it. But I thought, as long as I don't spend too much cash on it, I'll still get a decent 36 out of it for probably about $5 grand. So bottom line, I wired him $3 grand after he sent me a couple of videos of it running. So this is the video the guy sent of the car, showing the arches in pretty good nick. Car's looking quite filthy. Something I noticed straight away when I looked at it is the calipers have been painted blue. But everything else looks relatively decent on the outside, to be honest. All the arches look quite good. No bubbles, no rust, no repairs as far as I can tell. It's still got the orange peely here that you get from factory. So yeah, that's not been polished out, so all original 22-year-old paintwork. The aftermarket indicators, as I noticed. Weirdly enough, the side repeaters aren't smoked here, but whatever. And the car's a little bit noisy, but nothing kind of out of the ordinary. You see it's got parking sensors here, quite a rare 36 option. And inside the car here, you know, some of the damage on the seat that I already knew was there. What else? You can tell that the this component there in the driver's side, passenger side, sorry, footwell is hanging down because you can see the light, and then it's just got a lot of mess inside the car everywhere, really. Just some bits and bobs. And one thing I did notice is when he goes to open the passenger door, it doesn't open, so there's something wrong with the central locking there. Under the bonnet, though, it looks like quite an honest car. It's a little bit noisy, as you may be able to tell, but it's more of like a bearing noise. But if you look here, you'll see it's got the original sticker on the left-hand side. You might notice that the paint under the bonnet is different from the paint on the outside of the car. That's actually normal for these later Techno Violet 36s. They never put the metal fleck or clear coat under the bonnet or boot lid, so they show as this sort of like grey colour. But it's completely normal. I also quite like the fact that it's clearly not been messed around with under here, so it's quite a dirty engine bay. No one's tried to polish it up and make it look like anything it isn't, but it's also not got an induction kit or anything, and it's got the original intake manifold, so looks like quite a well looked after car. Perhaps needs a bit of TLC that it wasn't given in the last couple of years of its life. So anyway, I decided to offer him $3 grand, and what showed up a couple of days later is this.